estar en ese
So I'm just
nivel.
curious, does anyone have a question for Joe that they'd like to ask him? He's here live all the way from Westport, Connecticut. Anyone have a question that they'd like to ask Joe?
Can you show them on the screen?
Awesome.
¿No sean tímidos?
I
quiero
can
verlos en la
actually. Let's do
pantalla.
that.
Bueno, sí, te los voy a
Can you see
poner para
everybody?
que lo vean. Ahí los
Yes.
ves. Al público. Sí.
There he is. So now, Joe, you see, if they don't ask a question, you'll know that no one wanted to ask.
Can I pick on someone, you in the blue shirt?
Tú,
We
el
have a
de
question all
azulito.
the way down here.
Hi.
Hi.
Is it possible or is it good for good brands to drive traffic to social media? For example, if we have a brand who happens to be very valuable for our users because it provides a great user experience, would it be possible for the brand to drive traffic to this social media? Or is there any legal reason to not do that?
Hay una forma en la que pueda una marca llevar tráfico.
If I understand the question,
Si te
are you
digo-
saying is, and you have to help me out here a little bit, you're asking why the problem with legality. I'm not sure why there'd be a legality. You're talking about, for example, advertising or being able to drive traffic to a certain, to let's say a social networking group or promoting a blog or a podcast. Is that correct?
Exactly. To buy search marketing, for example, to those sites in where they are talking very fine my product. Is there any legal concern about it?
Are there any legal concerns with brands taking part in these conversations?
Oh, you know,
Not taking part of the conversation, but just driving traffic to it.
you know, so there are a couple of important issues here. One is, you know, in this day and age, and I'm sure Mitch will echo this in his keynote address as well, authenticity, transparency, disclosure, you hear these words mentioned a lot, but I don't think people actually understand what they mean. And I think we have to take these three ideas of authenticity, transparency, disclosure, and couple them as well with strategy, common sense, and business sense, because at the end of the day, we're here to encourage people to buy more of our product. From a legal standpoint, I think it's important that we're very clear about what we're doing and how we're doing it. I mean, if you take search marketing, for example, one could argue that paid search and organic search live on the same page, and is it very clear, you know, about what one does and what one doesn't do. But I think our consumers are a lot smarter than we often give them credit for. I'm less concerned about that. I'm more concerned about things like fake blogs or brands, and brands actually do this way too often. They go on other people's blogs and they create comments. It's kind of like infiltrating a chat room, and they create comments without disclosing who their real identity is or which company they work for. So all of that stuff has got to that stuff is unacceptable and cannot and should not apply. To the other part of your question about driving traffic, absolutely you should be driving traffic. I mean, you should, if you've got a social media effort, you should be telling people about it and focusing your marketing efforts on really exposing this seed. You know, the seed is not going to grow into an oak tree if you don't give it the sunlight and the nurturing and the love and the water, etc., etc. The other point I'll make, and again, I'm sure this is something Mitch, you'll probably echo as well, is that it's funny, but from a relevance standpoint and from a resonance standpoint, it is what is natural that ultimately is more effective than what is paid or forced. So you can try and drive traffic, but ultimately you'll notice that it is what the community embraces and internalizes that often will be higher on the page or more likely to be picked up or talked about in this blogosphere. I hope that answers your question on a couple of levels. And Mitch, if you want to add anything as well, go for it.
Oh, you sound so good. I don't want.
No.
I get my chance later on.
Can I just say before the final question, guys, how cool is this? I mean, how cool is this that I'm thousands of miles away and I'm able to be with you and feel connected to you? I wish I could have been there this year. So I want to thank the IAB not only for purchasing copies of the book, but for allowing me to be with you. I also want to thank my good friend and one of the greatest, smartest guys I know, Mitch, for facilitating this. So thank you.
Gracias por hacer esto
Dude, you just
posible.
won an Academy Award. You're giving an acceptance speech over here.
Okay?
You got a question?
That's my award.
Is that the Mitch Joel doll? Is that
No, this is the Joe Jaffe doll.
Es el muñeco de Jaffe.
Okay.
So you talked about these Nike fan sites that are Facebook or whatever other social network. And I'm sure those people are people who are fond about the brand, who buy those products, who will talk most of the time good about the product. I would think that the real interesting thing is to get people who are not Nike or any other brand lovers to engage in this. How could this work? Because it's like, offering discounts to people who already buy your brand. They'll still buy your brand just at a lower price. But what do you try to do? How could you engage the non-Nike lovers?
It's another excellent question, and I want to answer it two ways and go back to the earlier question as well. To this day, the number one podcast and the most popular podcasts on iTunes are in fact brands or established media brands. So, for example, NPR, ESPN are so high. So I think the point as well is that brands absolutely can participate. And I just wanted to kind of specify that, because when we think of now social media and Web 2.0 and social networking, we tend to focus on whether it's, Orchid in Brazil or Facebook, but there's so many other approaches we should be thinking about other than just social networks. Now the other point is, and this is why I think the question is fantastic, is, our most loyal customers are not often our most valuable customers, or at least our most loyal customers, they love us, and generally they're not going to go gaga over us. They're fans, but they're not really activists as much. My point, I think, is that, the people that are critical or negative sometimes, the haters out there, are as valuable, if not more valuable. Our biggest threat and challenge right now is to counter apathy and indifference. People that just have no opinion, that don't care, they don't like us or hate us, they're going to forget about us. They're going to move on. They're going to become the switches of tomorrow. So, if I'm understanding your question correctly, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. We should be, first of all, trying to figure out ways of connecting with the indifferents, or how to get those indifferents to feel something, and how to convert or transform those haters into fans and into lovers, and earn the right to be part of their conversation and get a second chance. I think that is such a critical opportunity for us. And by the way, to answer your question, how do we find them? We often don't have to worry about it. They'll find us. They're out there. All we have to do is look and listen and hear. If we're open, if our eyes and ears are open, we will find them and they will find us. Question then is, what are you going to do about it once you have that opportunity presented to you on a silver platter?
Let's add on to a little bit, and we got to wrap up. Just a lot of people make the mistake of saying, so we're Nike, we sell running shoes, and how do we do this? And people don't really want to hear about running shoes, but they do want to hear about optimal health, great sporting activities, things they can do to get more engaged, more active. And those are massive communities that brand is trying to speak to. I think the challenge is not trying to look at these channels and saying, how can I sell to more people my stuff? The challenge is in saying, how can we show value in terms of what we provide to that community? Why are we passionate about sports? Why are we passionate about running? And when brands go down that road, they always win, because they're doing it out of the spirit of trying to really help understand why they're passionate. They are. It's a great question. So Joseph, thank you so much. Joseph Jaffe is president of Crayon, an amazing marketing company developed life after the spot and join the conversation. You can see his blog and podcast over at Jaffe Juice. And I'll tell you, there's this famous saying that a friend will help you move, and a real friend will help you move the body. Joe's a real friend. So Joseph Jaffe, thank you very much, and everybody can say bye to Joe.
Thank you, everybody, and I also want to thank ooVoo for making this possible. ooVoo is a Crayon client, but I wanted to thank them as well. Take care, everybody, and Mitch, break a leg today, my friend.
Thank you.